Okay, geweldig. We are on that Kufkot Dawad Amud Aleph. Zok the Hill Gemara, the second line from the top. Money, who is the Brisa going with? The Brisa that says that the Bechor gets Shvach Nechosim, he gets Pishnaim and Shvach Nechosim, who's it going with? So Rebbe, it's going according to the Shita of Rebbe. The Tanya we learned, Ein Bechor Noitel Pishnaim B'Shvach Sheshavchu Nechosim La'acham Yisabi. The Tanakama holds that a Bechor does not get Pishnaim at all in any Shvach that the Nechosim were Mishpiach after the father died, which would exclude many of the cases in our Mishnah. Muchkeres, Muskeres, those are all things that with the Nechosim of the estate improved, it would not be included in the Pishnaim of a Bechor. But Rebbe Yomer, Ani, Bechor Noitel Pishnaim B'Shvach Sheshavchu Nechosim La'acham Yisabi. In fact, you do get Pishnaim, and that explains our Brisa. Avoloi B'Shvach Sheshpichu Yisoymim La'acham Yisabi. But if the Shvach didn't come by itself, it's because the Yisoymim put money into it, like they built houses on the property. There, even Rebbe agrees that the Bechor wouldn't get Pishnaim with that. Let's see the Rashbam. B'Shvach Sheshafru Mamela. But if the Yorshim put money in and they worked on it, and they put effort into improve the Nechosim, that's split equally amongst all the brothers, and the Bechor won't get Pishnaim. Zok the Brisa weiter, Yorshu Shtar Choiv. What if the Yarshim the Shtar Choiv? And the Rashbam explains, Hainu Milva Bishtar. So the father died, and he left over a shtar, which shows that Reuven owes him money. So the halach is Bechor Noitel Pishnaim. A Bechor would get Pishnaim of the Choy. Why? The Kiva the Muchzat Bishtar. Since the shtar is within the Rishus of the Nifter at the time of his death, B'alpi shtar goyven, and through a shtar you can be goyven the milpa. You don't need Edom. Harehu ki'ilu hashtar hishpiach. You look at it like the shtar itself with mashpiach down in the chosim sheshipchu b'mei. So the Rashbam is saying quite clearly that Yarshu Shtar Choiv, only according to Rebbe, would Bechor Noitel Pishnaim. But according to the Rabbanon, a Bechor would not take Pishnaim even in a shtar. That's something that's going to come up later today for discussion. Umiyu alivu the Rabbanon ein Noitel Pishnaim. Umaskon the Milsei the Rabbi. The Maskona is this Maskona of the Gemara is that this is only according to Rebbe. And that will become clear later on in our Gemara. However, v'dafka milva b'shtar, that we say that a milva is considered already muksuk in the hands of the father, that's only if it was a milva b'shtar. But what if the father was owed money, even if he had edim that showed that he owed the money, kivan the leka shtora, since there is no star, umotzei lamitan pratilach, and the loiva could claim, yes, you have edim that I borrowed money, but I claim that I paid you back. If you have a star, I cannot claim that you paid me back, that I paid you back. But if you don't have a star, you merely have edim, then I can claim that I paid you back. Now, milvas chaver be'edim ain't tzarich l'par be'edim. I don't have to pay you in front of edim. So there, afilu Rabbi Moida the l'shakal pishim. Even Rabbi would agree that by a milval peh, you don't take Mishnayim. We don't say that the father is a muchzak in this choiv, the name on the chasham shafchu me'atzman, so that we can consider this shvach t'mamela. That's not shvach t'mamela, and therefore the bechor will not get pishna. What about a different case? What about yotza alei and shtar choiv? What happens if the estate came under claim? Someone pulled a shtar choiv to the assignment and said that you owe me money. Your father owed me money. So let's say the value of the entire estate is worth $100,000. And let's say there's 4 children. So normally what would happen is if there's 4 children and one is a Bechor, the value of the estate is 100,000, each of the Pshutim would get 20,000 for a total of 60, and the Bechor would get 40,000, 60 plus 40, that's $100,000, the full estate. Now, what happens if a Bechor comes along and says that I have a star that says your father owed me 50,000? So the halacha is Bechor noisein pishnayim. The Bechor has to pay pishnayim of the 50. So the Bechor would have to pay 20, and each of the children would each give 10. So the same way he's entitled to an extra chelek of the estate, he's also responsible for an extra chelek of the estate. What if he says, I'm willing to give up my chelek abechayra, so therefore I don't want to pay an extra share because I'm giving up my chelek abechayra? Rashoi, the bechor can give up his chelek abechayra. We don't say, hey, it's too late. You yarshin it as soon as your father died, and it's yours, and now you're stuck with it. You don't say that. Okay, let's see the Rashbam. That their father was chayiv to somebody else. Zokt, the Rashbam, very important. This is not related to what we said a moment ago, that a milva b'shtar is considered a muhsin. It's a completely new halacha. Milza b'nafshi v'divrei koil, and everybody agrees to this, even the Rabbanim. We're not necessarily speaking b'chalal that there was a shtar chayiv coming to the estate. It's a regular estate with cash, and there was a shtar chayiv brought against the estate. So bechar noisen pishnayim, the bechar has to give a double chelek to pay off the chayiv. Because he is responsible for a double share, the Yerusha. All of the nechosim, of which he gets a double chelek, is meshubah to the malva, and therefore, when they're paying back, he pays back from his double chelek. However, I'm not interested in the pishnayim. I want to be equal with all my brothers, and once I'm equal with all my brothers, therefore I don't have to give a double chelek to pay off the malva. I'm only going to be a partner, sort of, into the estate based on what I'm going to take from the estate, which is just a regular share. Then Rashoy, he's allowed to do this. Now, when the malva is going to take him to the entire, if they come to him to want from him the chayv, he could say, listen, I'm only responsible. Let's say he's one of 5 brothers. I'm only mechuyev for 1/5 of the chayv. I'm not mechuyev for more because I'm a bechor. I'm only mechuyev for my share in the estate. V'naf kamina shetzarich zeh hamalva l'tfay esechav shel zeh l'din. The malva will now have to go after each of the brothers to get from them their share. V'mein yachol l'koifam, and if the malva cannot get a hold of my brothers, too bad for him. I'm only responsible for my portion. Or what if his brothers disappeared? They're not around. So the halacha is normally the malva will go to Bezdin, and Bezdin will seize assets from the estate to pay back the malva. But if they're not around, ein maridin lebalchoiv bekarka, the Bezdin will not allow the balchoiv to go liquidate karka from the estate. Ad the shamu Bezdin tainisach, until they hear the response of the brothers. The mayadin and the tiny Islam, they might have some taina that would part them from paying. For instance, the shami yitanu paranu or paruhu. They might say, we know our father paid back, but we ourselves already paid it back. So therefore, you cannot seize their assets. The Solkadait, what's the chiddush over here? The Solkadait, you might have thought, Kivan the Bechorhu, since this fellow is a Bechor, automatically he got 2 chalokim. Zochi le Rachmana Pishnai. Since he already has 2 chalokim in it, ve'ena yochaloimer any chofetz sheyu shali. You can't say, I don't want my Yerusha, I don't want my second chelek. Your father died, you automatically get it. And now you're going to be responsible for that ratio of anything that's owing. The Mishah Shemes Aviv Yarish Pishnayim. Maybe we should say that the moment his father died, just like he yarshed his chelik hapashit, he automatically got his double chelik. And if he wants to get rid of that, Achiyaf Kirim, he would have to be mafkarit, or Yachayim Kareim, or until he sells that chelik, or Yitnim Lachem, or gives them to somebody else. But otherwise it's his. And therefore, since it's his automatically, as soon as his father dies, and therefore, since he has a double share in the Yerusha, he should be responsible for that ratio of any liabilities. Kamash Malon, the Baal Korcha, you see a Gavalta Chiddush in the Pishnayim. Although the Chelik HaPoshet is yours automatically, the moment your father dies, the Pishnayim you could refuse to accept. The Kasav, the Pasuk says, Loses Loi. Ki es HaBechor ben Asnua Yakir, Loses Loi, to give him Pishnayim. We learn that the way the Chelik HaBechor comes to him is Ke'en Matan. It's like a Matana. And that means in the year to the Kabbal, you cannot force me to accept a Matana. I have a right to refuse that Matana. And therefore, if the Bechor says, I don't want my Pishnayim, you cannot force someone to be kind of that Chelik HaBechor. The Leikaya Rachmana Yerusha and the Matana. The Torah doesn't refer to the Chelik HaBechor as a Yerusha, which is automatic. He cannot refuse that. But the Torah refers to the Chelik HaBechor as a Matana. Matana can be refused. Avo, Mechelek Pshitusoi, but his regular Chelik, Eino Yachal Loimerki. He can't say, I don't want it. Shara Yoyreshu Balkarcha. Yerusha comes to you automatically Balkarcha. The Chelik HaBechor is only if you want. So that's how the Rishbam looks. The Rishbam is another pshat. The Eish Mefarshim, let's not learn this pshat. The Rishbam, because the Rishbam says it's a shibush cover, it's a complete mistake. So let's go back there. So Zokta Helig Gemara weiter. When Omar any noito, any nice and any noito, Rishai. Zokta Gemara, my Tamai durable. What is this far with our button who hold that Bechor is not Yerush Pishnayim from Shvach that came by itself? Omar Kra, they learned it from the pasuk of Loses Loi Pishnayim. Matana Kar Yerachmana. The Torah calls the Pishnayim a Matana. Ma Matana Adamata Liyadei. Just like a matana is not yours until it actually reaches your hand. Av chelik b'chayra, so to the chelik b'chayra adamatal day. It's not the b'chor's unless it's got to his hand. Let's see how the Rishbam explains this. My tamar rabbanon. So we learn, it says, Loses Loi ad the Matili Adei, the Noisein Eina Yachalitna Lacher. The Noisein can't give it to anybody else. The Eina Adam Makna Davar Shloi Baloi. So the father is the Noisein, right? Because we're saying that the Pishnayim is like a Nesina, like a Matana. You can't give something you don't have. Therefore, anything that wasn't there at the time of death, anything that's not in the rishus of the nifter at the time of death, he cannot give pishnayim to the bechor. That is how the Rabbanan know their halacha that shvach the memela does not go to the bechor with a pishnayim. Gewalt. Ma matana tamat idei avchel bechor tamat idei. Rabbi Eimer, Rabbi says he argues that he holds you do get shvach the memela. Omar Kra Pishnayim. The pasuk says you give the Bechor Pishnayim. So we're comparing to his Chelik HaPoshet to his Chelik Bechor. Magish Chelik Bechor leChelik Poshet. Ma Chelik Poshet Alpha Gav Lemotel Yadei. Just like he yarshins his regular Chelik, things that even come to the estate later. Av Chelik Bechor Alpha Gav Lemotel Yadei. So too, the Chelik HaBechor also you can yarshin by Roy. Just like it's more. For Rabbanan Nami Haksif Pishnayim, the Rabbanan also have to do something with Pishnayim, which seems to be Makish. The Chelik B'choira, the Chelik Apachit. The Gemara, Pishnayim is for a different limud, Hola Mesaloi, Achad Mitzvah. What happens if there's three properties lined up in a row? The halacha is you're going to give the Bechorah, his Pishnayim, two contingent properties. So if it's 1, 2, and 3 lined up from left to right, you won't give him 1 and 3. You'll either give him 1 and 2, or you'll give him 2 and 3. That's what you learn from Pishnayim. For Rabbi Nami, Haksiv Losses Loi. Rabbi, what are you going to do? What is Rabbi going to do with the word Losses Loi? Losses Loi seems to say it's like a matana. You can't give a matana. You don't have it. That the Losses Loi you need for the limit we just said. Say that a Bechor can refuse to accept Yerusha. How will the Rabbanan know this? Zok Rashbam, they can learn both things from it. As the Rashbam says, Shem Amar Eni Noitel Eni Noisen. Hi Eni Noisen Lav Davka Nak Lecha means Eni Noitel. The Makrala Yafin Le El Misvara. Kivin Eni Noitel Bad Loite. Lachi Brushay. Shem Amar Eni Noitel Lafi She'enoi Roita Lite. He says, I'm willing to give up my Chelik HaBechor because I don't want to pay double. Then he is able to do that. Nobody would say any noitel. He's only saying any noitel because he wants to be able to do any noitel. I'm sorry, the Rashbam over here, the early Rashbam says, Rabbanan Nami Tarti Shamas Mina. The Rabbanan will learn two things from Losses Loi. And therefore, and therefore you don't get Pishnayim in the Shva. From the word loy shminon, loy zacha ba bechar at shetavol yadai. The bechar is not zacha until he gets it, and therefore he could refuse to accept. Okay, about. So now we got clear how you know that a bechar is when you get Pishnayim of roy kevin muchzuk if it's shvach tasa the memela. According to Rebbe, we know according to Rabbanan why a bechar doesn't get Pishnayim, but we also know that everybody agrees that a bechar can refuse to take Pishnayim and therefore be liable for Pishnayim. Amar Papa, what about Dikla Va'alim? There was a dekel, a tree in the estate, and after the father died, the tree grew bigger and strong. So that's Shavach Dasa Memela, right? Or Ara Va'asik Sirtan. There was a land that didn't really lend itself to planting, it wasn't wood land, and a whole bunch of topsoil came on it, it softened up, and now it's really, really good. So here is a Shavach Dasa de B'Mela. There, even the Rabbanan agree that the Bechor does get Pishnayim. Everybody agrees there that a Bechor gets Pishnayim. It's Shavach and Shvach that comes afterwards. The Rabbanan hold the Bechor doesn't get Pishnayim. Zok Rashbam, the Chul Alma Rebbe Rabbanan, the Shakel, the Adayin Shmayala. The key is that nothing changed. It was a decal now, and there was a decal before. It's always a decal. It's a better decal now. That's considered like that's what was in the estate. The same thing with this piece of land that improved. It's the same piece of land that improved. That's the same piece of land that the father left over. Keep ligi. So where is there an argument between Rebbe and the Rabbanan about shvach, the asum mela? That's bechafura, the hava shuvli. Chafura is like small stubs of straw that grew up to big, beautiful stalks, which we now refer to with a different name, or shlufavi vavatami. They were tiny little buds, and they grew out in big dates. Again, it changed its name. There, where there's a change in what was there originally, it wasn't just an improvement, but it's a change. It's called something else. The Marasav is Shvacha de Mamela. Rebbe Yol, that's called Shvacha de Mamela. And therefore the Bechor gets Pishnayim, Umarasav Ishtani, and the Rabban hold that Ishtani, it's not the same thing that was there before, and therefore it's not considered Muksik, and therefore the Bechor does not get Pishnayim. Let's see the Rashbam how he explains it. Bechafura is Shachas. Shachas is like stubble. After you cut, there's little straw stubs remaining. Hiniachlan, that was left to them. The Nasu Achkin Shubli, and it grew and became full-blown stalks. And Shlufi are the column Shafrichu pears. You had you had palm trees that sprouted pears, but they were small little buds. And nasu achrin tomorrow, and then they grew and matured into full dates. It's this type of shvachad b'mela where Rebbe and the Rabbanan are arguing. Umar Savar, the Rabbanan hold it's ishtani. The stubble now became wheat. Prochim and the little flowers and buds, liyos tomorrow became dates. That's a completely different thing. We consider it a whole different thing, and therefore it's not considered right. So at the end of the day, we have a machloikus in these items, chafur bava shuvli, shluvi bava tamri, or cases in our brisa where you had a parah that was muchkeres and it gave birth, or a parah that was being roya ba'efer and it gave birth. These are all shvachad and mamela where Rabbi holds the bechor gets pishnayim and the Rabban hold the bechor doesn't get pishnayim. Now we're going to have a discussion of halacha l'maaseh. Amar Rabba bar Chana Amar Rab Chiya. Also kedivrei Rabbi. Also kedivrei Chachamim. Also, you know what? If a dying paskins either way, it's an acceptable psak. Why is that? Zokter Rashbam. Also a dying kedivrei Rabbi. Also v'loy noimar ta b'devar Mishnah chayzer. If a dying makes an often mistake and he missed an often Mishnah, that din is revocable. But here, we don't know who to paskin like, and therefore, either way that someone paskin would be an acceptable psak, and we wouldn't reverse that halach. Let's turn on Amud Beis. Why did Reb Chiya say that? Because mesavkalei halacha karebi mechaveiroi v'loy mechaveirov, halacha karebi mechaveirov afilu mechaveirov. There was a known saying, halacha karebi mechaveirov. What did that mean? Did I mean the halacha is for sure like Rebbe Mechaveiroi? And maybe even when he's arguing on Chaveirov, even when he's arguing on Rabbim, or maybe halacha Rebbe Mechaveiroi is only if he's arguing on an individual. So Masavka halacha Rebbe Mechaveiroi v'loy Mechaveirov, and therefore we would pass like Rabbana that Bukhar does not get Mishnayim, or maybe halacha Rebbe Mechaveiroi v'afilu Mechaveirov, and therefore even though there's a Rabbanan arguing on Rebbe, we would still pass like Rebbe that the Bukhar gets Mishnayim. Amar Rab Nachman said, Amar Rav in the name of Rav, Osur Lasas Kediver Rebbe. You're not allowed to pass like Rebbe. He said that with certainty. Kasavar, Halacha Rebbe Mechaver v'lo Mechavero. Rab Nachman saying in the name of Rav, clearly that when Rebbe is argued upon by multiple people like the Rabbanon, we do not pass like Rebbe. But Rab Nachman Didei Amar, Rab Nachman said over from Rav, who said that we don't pass like Rebbe, but Rab Nachman himself said, mutter lasas kediver Rebbe. It's a mutter to paskin like Rebbe. Why? Kasavar halacha kerebbe mechaveiroi va'afilu mechaveiroi. He holds that we paskin like Rebbe even when they're upon our argument. Tosfos has a problem with the lotion of mutter. If it's mutter, that means that's halacha like him. So then you're chayiv to paskin like him. If the halacha is like him, it's not mutter. You have to paskin like him. So Tosfos has a discussion about Amarova. Now, Tosfos also brings up could be everywhere else you might hold halacha Rebbe Mechaver v'lo Mechaver, but here it might be different. That's one discussion that Tosfos has. Amarova, Rava says, and let's look at the Bach, because the Bach also garshons like the Rashbam. Omar Rava. Hilchasa Kerebi. The halacha is like Rebbe. V'im asa asli. And if you pass like Rebbe, but if you pass like the Rabbanon, it's also good. Kasavar matan itmar. It means that he holds that we should really turn away from Rebbe and pass like the Rabbanon. The Rashbam tells us right away, this that Rabbi said Hilchasa Kerebi. We're not talking on it because in a moment we're going to say from our Papa that he paskin not like Rebbe. So Rabbi says the halacha is like Rebbe, but if you paskin like Rabban, it's also good. Kasavar matan itmar, meaning kain nemer b'besmedrish. In the Bishmedrash, what was said was matin esadin acher divrei chachamim lodun kain lechatchila. The Chila, you're supposed to paskin like the Rabbanan. Umiyu, however, you avad kerebi avad. If you paskin like Rebbe, it's acceptable. We won't reverse the din. That's how we pass. That's how we explain when it is matnit. Matnit means we're really paskin like the Rabbanan, but if you paskin like Rebbe, it will be an acceptable. Tani Rab Nachman b'shar sifrei devei Rav. What does it mean b'shar sifrei devei Rav? The sifrei devei Rav, the Rashbam says, is Torah's Kaihanim, is the Brisa on Sefer Vayikra. Shar sifrei devei Rav is the Brises on all the rest of Chamisha Chubshet Torah. So here we're going to quote Sifrei devei Rav on which Sefer, not on Devarim, says b'chol asher yimatzei loy. That's on Devarim. So we dash in b'chol asher yimatzei loy. Has to go a double chelik to the bechor. Prat l'shvach sheshbichu yorshin le'achar misasavi. B'chol asher yimatzei loy, he gets pishnayim from whatever the father had at the time of his death, but not shvach that the yorshin themselves invested to improve the estate that the bechor does not get pishnayim. But something that became better without input of the brothers, it got better by itself. It shavchu the memela shoko that he will get. Who is that? Umani Rebbe. That is Rebbe. Like we learned, Rebbe old shavach the memela. The bechor gets pishnayim. Rabbanan. Tani Rabbi Bar Chama, the shar sefer devei Rav. Rabbi Bar Chama had a different brisa. That it's a different nusach that he quoted from the brisa. Same pasuk. B'chol hashimat saloi prat l'shvach sheshafchu nechasim lachamis aviyam. Meaning, if the nechasim were in mishabeach after the father died, even by themselves, that would not be included in the pishnayim of the bechor. So Rabbi Bar Chama quoted the brisa of the Berab, contradicting Rebbe. Surely, if they actually did it on their own, they made it mishubach. For sure that the bechor would not get pishnayim. Umani rabbanani, that would be the rabban. So we have two versions of how to darshan the pasuk of b'chol asher yimatzei loy. Rab Nachman's version indicates like Rebbe. Rabbi Bar Chama's version indicates like the rabban. And now we have another version. Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, Ein bechor noitel pishnayim b'milva. A bechor will not take pishnayim b'milva. So who is this? Is this the shita of Rebbe, or is this the shita of the rabban? Lamam, who is Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel going according to? Ileim al rabbanon. If he's going according to the rabbanon, where a bechor does not get pishnayim, but let's not forget, on Amar Aleph, we already learned the brisa that we learned was aliba de chula alma, that if it was Yarshu Shtarchoiv, bechor noitel pishnayim, right? And the Rashbam tells us, I'm sorry, the Rashbam, that's only according to Rebbe, but according to Rabban, you would not get pishnayim. Okay? So we have a brisa here that says Yosy Shtarchoiv, according to Rebbe, he gets pishnayim, according to Rabban, not. Now we have Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel discussing the same thing, and he said, Ein bechor noitel pishnayim b'milva. Solomon. If it's going according to the Rabbanon, why would we need a chiddush of ein a bechor noitel b'shnayim b'milva? Hashta shvacha de isay b'shusay amar Rabbanon lo shakel. Shvach that's in the rishus, with the Rabbanon said that you don't get. Rashbam says like chafur v'abashuvli shemuchzak sas b'yisad chasim. This is in your field. This stubble is growing in your field, and it grew into wheat. That's not included. That's there already in your field. Milva mi boy, surely a milva the Rabbanon would hold. You don't get milva's money that's coming in from the outside. So why would I need a brisa to tell me, according to the Rabbanon, that the bechor does not get pishnayim and milva? El Rebbe, but if you're going to say it's going according to Rebbe, Rebbe doesn't agree with this. Rebbe holds he does get pishnayim. So this is not the brisa we had before, because this brisa is specifying sai in the milva and sai if the shtar ribis on it. The bechor gets pishnayim with the ribis as well. Who is that going according to? Mani loy Rebbe, loy Rabbanon. That wouldn't go according to Rebbe, nor according to the Rabbanan, because you want to say that Rebbe holds that the Bechor does not get Pishnayim in the middle. We're going to be forced to say that the bride that it says Ein Bechor not Pishnayim b'milva is going according to the Rabbanan. You got a problem. What's the Chiddush? This is not even in his Rishos. Why would we think Bechlal that the Rabbanan would hold that the Bechor takes Pishnayim? The Yitzrach. I'll tell you why it's a Chiddush. So Kedai de Chamina Milva Kivin de Nokid Shtora Taman de Gavidon. Maybe since there's a star here, that actually is more Bershusai than wheat growing, because holding on to the star is like holding on to the Chayv. Kamash Malon, that holding on to the star is not like holding on to the Chayv, and therefore it's called Royu, and therefore the Rabbanan would hold that a Bechor does not get Pishnayim. Sholchamutam, they said this from over there. Bechor noitel Pishnayim b'milva avoloi b'ribis. So this brisa clearly argues on the brisa of Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel, because the brisa from Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel said Ein Bechor noitel Pishnayim, and this brisa says Bechor noitel Pishnayim b'milva avoloi b'ribis, but not of the ribis. So now we have three brises. We have one brisa that says the Bechor gets nothing, no Pishnayim at all in any chayv. Then we have another brisa that it's he gets sai from the milva, sai from the ribis. Now we have a third brise that says the milva, not the ribis. So now the Gemara asks, Laman, who is this brise going according to? Ilema Rabbanan. If it's going according to Rabbanan, Hash the Shvach Hadisa B'Shusei Amir Rabbanan L'Shakel Milva Midvay. Same shal as before. If you don't even get something that's growing in your Rishos, the Bechor doesn't get Pishnayim, surely you don't get a milva. El Rebbe, it must be going according to Rebbe. But Frank, come on, Ula Rebbe, Ribis Lud. Are you telling me, according to Rebbe, the Bechor wouldn't get Bishnayim with the Ribis? Vatanya Rebbe Omer, Bechor not Bishnayim, Bain B'milva, Bain B'ribis. Rebbe holds you get Bishnayim side the milva, side the Ribis. So this price that it says you get from the milva and not from the Ribis, who is that going according to? Rabbanan, it'll have to be the Rabbanan, clearly arguing on the earlier brisa that Rami Bar Chama brought. Surely it'll be arguing on the earlier. It should be arguing on the earlier brisa that Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel brought. It'll be arguing on that brisa, and it'll hold according to Rabbanan that you get the milva and not ribis. But the Rabbanan would hold that a milva it's like it's already claimed. Therefore, even the Rabbanan would be moida that you get Pishnayim. So now we have a machlokes in the Rabbanan themselves. Would a milva be considered muksa, and therefore the Bechor will get Pishnayim, or not? But Kul Alma holds that the ribis would not be muksa. Only Rabbi Acha by Rav l'Ravina. Rabbi Acha by Rav told Ravina, Ikla Ameimer la'asru. A Meimer came to our city, V'darish, and he darshed in the following: Bechor noitel Pishnayim b'milva. A Bechor gets Pishnayim b'milva, avoloi b'ribis, but he doesn't get Pishnayim in the ribis. So that would seem to go according to the Rabbanon, like this last shito that we had. Zog to Gemara. So we told him the Nardoi, a neighbor who's from Nardo, and Rab who's from Nardo, they both have this shita with a slight variation. And we're going to look at the Bach inside who changes the order of how it's represented here in our Gemara. The Omar Rav Nachman, he switches around and starts with Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman, Govu Karka, if what the estate collected from the loiva was property, ein loy, the Bechor won't get Pishnayim, because the Karka is new to the estate, and that's not considered part of the estate. But Govu Mois, but if the loiva paid back in cash, even though it's different cash from the actual cash that he got from the Malva, but we'll say that's the same thing, and therefore, Yeshloi, the Bechor will get Pishnayim. Rabbi had the exact opposite opinion. Rabbi Amar Gavu Mois Einloi, because that's separate cash. Gavu Karka Yeshloi, because there was always a Shibud in the star for this Karka, so we look at it like the Karka was always in the estate. Let's have a look at the Rashbam. Nardai Latameh, Zok Teleg Rashbam, a Meimar Krav Nachman Svir. A Meimer agrees with Rav Nachman that Tervayu Havim in a Hardo. There's both a Meimer and Rav Nachman were from the Hardo, and Rav Nachman says that if depending on the circumstance, if you collected karka, it would be considered muksuk. Kedamar Meimer, Ano min Ardana. A Meimer said in Daf Lamed Aleph, I'm from Nardo. Usvirli, and they hold like they hold in Nardo. The Tavayu Svirlu, Saya Meimer, and Shara Nachman holds, the Moy Sha'adim Chayiv L'Chaveroi, if a loiv is chayiv money to a malva, have a muksuk ben, it's considered muksuk. Govu karka, bechoiv milvavi. If the estate collected from the loiva karka, ein loy the bechor b'shnayim, then the bechor would not get b'shnayim. The moy silvei of loy karka, because what did the malva actually give the loiva? Cash. He didn't give him karka. Avu govu mois, but if the loiva paid back in cash, yesh loy, then the bechor will get b'shnayim. We consider him a muksuk in money. I'll leave it to Sholchem Mutam, according to the Sholchem Mutam, which was this nusach of the Brisa that said, according to the Rabbanon, noitel b'shnayim b'milva v'loy b'ribus, we consider him a muksuk in the mois of milva. V'li nira Dr. Rashbam, the Haid Amin Nardar l'Chamayu, that the Gemara said that the Nardayu are in cahoots. It's not excluding Rabbah, who says the opposite. It's not being made to Rabbah, who holds that only if they collected karka, then it's muksuk. It's not arguing. So a meimer stomadarch, a meimer didn't specify. He just said b'chor noitel b'shnayim b'milva, and he didn't say if it was karka or if it was cash. Loishna karka, loishna mois. Either way, there would be a pishnayim to the bechor. The only thing the Meimer is arguing on, so he agrees with Rabbi, he agrees with Nachman. He's only arguing on Rabbi Yehuda or Shmuel's price. And the Mamuti Mejuv Shmuel, the Amar La'il Al Libid Rabbanon, the Ina B'chanoitel Pishnayim B'milva. Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel had a brisa who said in the Rabbanon that in Malva, the children, the Bechar doesn't get Pishnayim of a milva at all. So on that he's arguing, but Meimer Shvir look in the Sholchem Mitam that he does get, the Bechar does get Pishnayim of a milva. Nachman v'Rabba the Svir Lahu to the Sholchem Mutam. Nachman and Rabba both hold like the Sholchem Mutam that the Bechor does get Pi Shnayim of a milva even according to Rabbanon, and they just have a disagreement as to how the loan had to be repaid. If it was repaid in cash according to Rabba, it's considered muksuk and the Bechor gets Pi Shnayim, and according to Rabbi Nachman, if it was paid back in karka. Govu karka mibal choiv, there yesh lo l'bechor pishnayim. The high karka is tabed lavun b'chayil. When the father was alive, the karka of the loiva was already mishubed to the father, so it's like he had it already. It's as if he had it in his rishut like a mashkin. And therefore we consider it a muksik. Lita al bechor pishnayim. But money, that's not considered that it was huksik by the father. The original money given out was given out. The honey mice are cleaning in it. And the money that the loiva now paid back with is different money. That wouldn't be something that the father had a chazak. Let's just get to the top of Amid. It's shver both on you and on Rav Nachman. It's shver on you because I would ask a question. Maishna mois, the loy. Why by mois do you say it's not huchsak by the father? The lat hani mois shava kavua. The father didn't leave over that cash. He gave different cash to the loiva, and the loiva is paying him with new cash. That cash that he paid back with is not the same cash the father left over. So that shouldn't be considered muksa. And karkanami, lav ho karka shava kavua. The father didn't leave his karka. It came to the estate later on. So let's stop here, and we will be mamshich. Bez Hashem tomorrow. Everyone should have an awesome, wonderful day.